And now, Society Network presents Homegrown After Dark, featuring Jason Custer.
Since the moment we met, I've been trying to figure out what it is about you that I
All right, welcome back to Society Network, Homegrown After Dark. And today I have the distinct pleasure of bringing Jason Custer back to be interviewed by me here on the show. Jason, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me back.
No problem, man. It's my pleasure. So, you remember the last time you were on the KBay 103.9 FM Homegrown Hour.
Right.
And it's a little bit different. Now we're shooting the video.
Exactly.
Instead of just broadcast.
I do so many of these different videos. And I remember when I first started out in music,
Yep.
It was always, you'd go into a radio station, it was you and DJ, and that was it. Now, you see yourself up on a screen or whatever, and you're trying to...
Yeah, well, a lot of people know that we shoot green screen, so you can
Right.
tell everybody what's behind
yeah.
that picture. It's a green room.
What?
Yeah, I know, it's wild. So, Jason, what have you been up to? I know everybody went through the pandemic and all that was hard, but people like to hear the stories from what went on in your life during that pandemic and stuff like that. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, luckily we didn't really lose a whole lot of shows from due to the pandemic, because a lot of the places that we play were kind of the bar and grill type of places. Some of our shows we did lose. Some of the bar and grill type places also closed as well. I guess in the best interest of their customers. So
Okay.
we missed out on opening for the Tejas Brothers in my hometown during the annual festival, carnival, the Old Settlers Reunion up in Hyco.
Okay.
And so we were supposed to open for Tejas Brothers then. We missed out on an opportunity to play at Texas Live in Arlington. There were some lost opportunities, but we didn't lose all of them.
Yeah, for the most part, you didn't get crashed like a lot of the other musicians did.
I mean, we're not big enough to where we're, packing out 10,000, seat
Venues and stuff like that.
Yeah, so luckily we're enough below the radar that we could keep working.
Maybe that's probably the only benefit I think that everybody could say comes out of being the smaller musicians like all of us. You know what I mean? We don't have to worry about that.
Right.
It killed off all the big guys. It knocked them completely out because it doesn't make sense for George Strait to go play down here at the open mic at the local Mr. Gaddy's.
That's right.
And I'm being honest with you. I didn't say that as a pun or nothing. I'm being honest. So, there was a benefit.
Right. Co Wetzel, who's, on his big meteoric rise.
Yes, sir.
And then...
What's up, Cole?
What's up, Co? When he basically had to stop touring because he was having such a rowdy crowd that would show up at every time he played, his bass player, on the other hand, joined up with Buck Fuffalo and
Buck Fuffalo.
You haven't heard of Buck?
No, I've never heard that.
Yeah, I have to make sure that I'm thinking about the name before I say it.
Oh, God, Buck Fuffalo.
Yeah,
Okay.
He's out of Stephenville as well. So and Matt Hartman from the what's the name of his band? I apologize, Matt, if you ever see this, but they actually, because their respective bands, they couldn't play, so those three put their own little thing together called the Cowbirds.
So they could
that they go play. And everybody knew who they were. They're still getting this big crowd, but venues were able to book them because they weren't bringing in the numbers that they would have otherwise.
Yeah, no doubt. Doing the episodes here on the Society, man, I'm telling you, every musician says the same thing. The full-timers, they're all our age, Jason.
Yeah.
Man, they took a pounding.
Very much.
And they went to doing the online shows and such like that, and sometimes that wasn't even enough.
And I did a couple of those takeovers. We had a show booked at the Greenwood Saloon, which is up in Bluffdale, Texas, north of Stephenville, and it was March of last year when we were supposed to have played there, and they said, "Hey, you want to do a takeover? We'll give you the password to the Facebook page, and then you can do like a however long and have your Venmo and
Yeah,
all your PayPal stuff, and people could tip you. And it was fun. I think at one time there's about 20 people listening, which, I guess people have a hard time watching a live video. I don't know.
It is. Well, I think a lot of it is a lot of people are doing it.
Yeah.
You may not be seeing it all in your feed,
Yeah.
but some people, they follow a lot of different bands, and it's like pop, 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 pop. Like my feed.
Yeah.
When people are doing that, it's like every other one is somebody doing live. And they're like, Mel, how come you didn't come in and watch me? Or you were in there for 30 seconds. I was like, well, there's like 3,000 of them that night I'm trying to go to,
I'm making an appearance for everybody.
So everybody's making an appearance for you to get the counts.
Exactly.
But, we all want that very large crowd.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Very
On the
large.
live. But the live feed, I don't like the live feed.
No, I don't like performing for the live feeds. Just the simple fact that, I get so much of my rush from audience participation, crowd interaction,
Absolutely.
If I've got a room full of 50 people and I've only got one person that's kind of bantering back and forth, or hollering out requests or tapping their toe or having a good time, I can see that. But when you're looking into a camera, it's totally different.
It's totally different. It's wild. I watch a lot of the musicians when they come in here with me. I mean, you might have your hands together. A lot of them are like, their hands are shaking.
Oh, yeah.
And like Blake Renshaw, when he came in here, which I'll be getting your episode out soon, Blake, as soon as we get you back in for he has to do retakes. My bad. But anyways, his hands were shaking so bad. I was like, poor young man. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's just like, I'm nervous. I was like, you play in front of a lot of people 2 to 3 nights a week. How can you be embarrassed? He's like, I can't help it, man. You know what I mean? Or not embarrassed, nervous. He goes, it's different. I get in front of the camera. And it's like, and he says, and live, I'm like doing cartwheels and somersaults in front of everybody.
It's like when I was, when I got out of the Army and I started going to school at CTC, and I had to take a public speaking class, and I'm thinking, this is a breeze. I'm in front of people all the time. I have no problem talking in front of people, or basically being the center of attention.
That's a good thing to do.
My guitar is my security blanket, and I figured that out after I gave my first speech in class, and I was like,
So did you finally give the speech with your guitar?
No, I didn't, but I just had to get on through it. But I realized how uncomfortable I was standing in front of people without having my security
walk towards
blanket.
me a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We want them to see Jay getting your whole face on you, man. It was like this.
Oh yeah. I'm
It's
hiding.
like hiding back there.
I'm covering up the ugly.
Oh, there you go, man. There you go. Okay, so let's touch on it just a little bit. You talked about you were in the Army,
right? Did 12 years. I was an infantryman, and in fact, my entire band is military veterans. So my bass player was a parachute rigger. He did 8 years in. My drummer was the lone holdout. He did, I think, 22 years. He was infantry, and then he switched reclassed to engineer. And then our new lead guitar player was actually in the Navy.
Okay, so you said you were in for 12 years. What made you have to do over a decade? What made you decide that I'm out of here, I'm going to play a guitar?
I was 25 when I joined, so I was already 7 years older than, probably 8 years older than the youngest guy in my basic training class.
Yeah.
And then I don't bounce when I hit the ground like I used to.
Right.
Recovering from minor injuries just started taking longer, and I spent 4 years as a recruiter down in Beaumont. So that 4 years, I spent 2.5 years after that in Fort Drum, New York, with the 10th Mountain Division. I went to Afghanistan with them, and then
those are some bad boys right there.
Yeah, it was an honor to be in the 10th Mountain.
Yeah, 10th Mountain.
There's
a lot of people don't know that that was Trump's favorite.
Really, I didn't even know that.
10th Mountain.
Yeah.
When they need something to do, sit in the 10th Mountain.
Well, the uniforms that the cadets at West Point wear are actually based on, and they kind of are what's the word I'm looking for?
Off the uniform.
Throwbacks, basically, to
the dress
triple
uniform.
deuce, which was the second. It's it'd be the 2nd Battalion, 22nd Infantry Regiment, who is a 10th Mountain Division, but they were that I guess it was the Colonial War. So, or
War of Independence.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
1776.
That's right. So they were a regular unit then. They weren't like a militia or anything. And when the British saw them coming, they were like, they're by God, they're regulars. And when West Point was founded, they used that uniform.
They just kept it. That's cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you just didn't decide you were going to try a new MOS?
I could have, and give me till next year. Next year would have been 20 years, and I'll be kicking myself. I should have stayed in, but hard on the body. Injuries were plaguing me, and recovery time really, and then the fact that I had my daughter at the time was 4 years old or just about to be 5 years old when I came back from Afghanistan.
Okay.
And all she understood was I was gone.
Right.
And it was a dangerous place.
Oh, I bet.
And when I got back, she said she didn't want me to ever go again. And that kind of hit.
Yeah, that would have been enough for me. Straight up, man. Thank you for serving.
Thank you.
America hasn't done enough for the young men and women that went through all these wars that should not have happened. Should not have happened. I cannot say it enough, and I'm not even going to get into that. I'm sorry.
No. That's
I hate sacrificing our soldiers for somebody else's greed.
That's right.
Yeah. Yep. So, woo, boy, it pisses me off to even think about it.
I'm glad it's over.
Okay, so anyway. well, let's get a good bright spot in the interview, and let's talk about your first song you're going to do today.
Yeah. Speaking of Afghanistan, I wrote this first song in Afghanistan with our platoon medic. I was a squad leader, so I was a staff sergeant, and each squad, by about halfway point of our deployment, they had finally built enough large tents for every squad to have their own tent to themselves. And so our platoon medic lived in my tent. And I think he moved into my tent because he wanted to jam out. He had a guitar, yeah. He had his wife ship his guitar over to him. And he's like, you ought to have your wife ship your guitar. Excuse me. I said, oh no, my guitars cost more than yours. So we went up to the USO one day when the chaplain wasn't looking. I stole a little cheap Fender acoustic guitar out of the USO, and I had it for about 8 months in the tent, and we'd just sit there and jam. And one day he just started playing this little melody, and I asked him what it was, and he said, I just made it up. And so we wrote a song. And
what was the name of that song?
Sweetest Thing.
The Sweetest Thing. Okay.
And that one's on our album that we released back in 2019. Okay,
on your album 2019. Okay, here you go, guys. Jason Custer, The Sweetest Thing.
Hey, everybody. I'm Jason Custer, and this is Sweetest Thing off of my album, Drink This Beer. Since the moment we met, I've been trying to figure out what it is about you that I can't live without. Maybe it's your hands every time that we touch. Maybe it's your blue eyes, girl, I can't get enough. Baby, when you smile at me, my heart begins to melt. You just do something to me that I've never felt. The way you say you love me without saying a word, that's the sweetest thing I've ever heard. Taste of your kiss, intoxicating like wine. I get drunk on your love when your lips touch mine. You You don't need expensive perfume, 'cause the scent of your skin is like flowers in bloom. Baby, when you smile at me, my heart begins to melt. Just do something to me that I've never felt. The way you say you love me without saying a word, that's the sweetest thing I've ever heard. Baby, when you smile at me, my heart begins to melt. Just do something to me that I've never felt. The way you say you love me without saying a word, that's the sweetest thing I've ever heard. That's the sweetest thing I've ever heard.
All right, and we're back. It's Jason Custer. He just performed a song, "The Sweetest Thing." So I can tell it's a love song, man.
Right.
Written in Afghanistan.
Written in Afghanistan. Like I said, our medic, Josh Chamberlain, he's from Arizona. So it was kind of funny because I'm from Texas, and I'm not the biggest fan of the bro country music.
Right.
The modern, what they call country music. And but he's from Arizona and just doesn't know any better. Right. But he would sit around and he'd play the melodies to all these other songs, and I was like, "What is that?" And he's, "Oh, it's a Luke Bryan song." I was like, "Well, I don't know it."
Right.
And
you always think that's another original tune. This kid's badass.
Yeah. And then finally he threw that little intro lick on me one day, and I was like, "Okay, whose song is that?" And he goes, "I just made it up." And I'm like, "Well, let's write a song." So I always tell the story because in the Army, and it's the military or construction, or I'm sure musicians, we all have kind of a rude sense of humor to each other. We
absolutely
kind of talk about things that we wouldn't talk about in church,
of course,
or make comments. So I always tell this story, and this is how it went down. But I tell this story when we play the song live at shows, and I tell everybody. He's like, "Well," I was like, "What do you feel like writing a song about?" And he said, "Well, I miss my wife." I'm like, "Well, I miss your wife too."
Yeah.
So, and of course, he laughed. Everybody else that was listening laughed, and
well, you had that one person in the room go, "Hmm?"
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm just talking about the guys in the tent in general, because we all just sit around and pass the guitars around. But so everybody started laughing about it, and then we wrote this song, which is probably one of the sweetest thing. It's one of the sweetest songs I think I've ever written. So, he contributed about half the lyrics. There's another song that he wrote when we were in Afghanistan that I can't even mention the title of it, but just because, again, it's one of those things you don't say in church. So it was a funny. I'll tell you off air.
Okay, there you go. Okay, man. So is this guy? Have you played or seen him since y'all left Afghanistan to play at all or collaborate or anything?
Yeah. So when we get back from Afghanistan, of course, when a unit comes back home from a deployment, they go through what's called a reset phase, where soldiers who have been, you always hear about soldiers that they were there for 3 years and then they moved to the next place, and every 3 years they moved. Well,
right.
Fort Drum, I'm from Texas.
Okay.
And I was stuck at Fort Drum for 3 years.
Oh, Jesus.
And I wanted out of Fort Drum. It was too cold. I'd rather sweat than shiver. So, anyway, when we got back, everybody started scattering to the four winds, and as luck would have it, Josh ended up getting stationed at BAMC down in San Antonio.
Okay.
So we were my wife and I went down to the Riverwalk for our anniversary one year, and I called him up, and he brought he had a girlfriend and everything, so they met us on the Riverwalk, and we had dinner and had a few drinks and had a good time for the rest of the weekend hanging out with him. But unfortunately, that was the last time I saw him. I'm pretty sure now he's out of the Army and living back out in Arizona. So,
okay, there you go.
There's a good chance I'll see him again, but
it's so wild. I was only in for 4.
Right.
And this is.
Well, thank you for your service.
Mine was like people would call in, and I had to read schematics for them while they're across the world. That was my job. You know what I mean? So, anyways, but all my friends I went with, you know what I mean? I had a family member get themselves in trouble in a northern state, and I won't say it. And I hadn't talked to this guy in like 30 years. And I just, we communicate a little bit, you know what I mean, through social media, but not that much. And so I said, hey, man, my nephew's coming to your town. Can you help me out? My nephew got his life straight. And he was still in the military. The guy's crazy. Almost, 30 years later, still in. That's not a joke.
I was looking forward to 19 years in one day and dropping a retirement packet.
Yeah.
But like I said, life threw a curveball. And, when my daughter basically said, I don't want you to deploy again, or I don't want you to go away again, that was pretty much time for me to hang it up.
Right.
And, and I'm still young enough, and I could go back in. I'm not going to be the same rank that I was, and probably not even the same job. And
so if you don't mind me asking, how old are you, Jason?
I'm 44.
You're 44. So what's the cutoff to go in?
Well, when I was a recruiter, they actually had raised the maximum age of enlistment from I think it was 35 or 37 to 42.
Oh, good Lord. Okay.
But the way it works is if we're in the Army before, prior service or in the military before, and you wanted to come back in, they would take your actual age and then subtract the number of the years that you were in, and that's your Army age. And if you're underneath the maximum age requirement,
right,
you can go back in.
So there you go.
So
you know what I mean?
I don't know if they've changed it back from 42. We had a guy that was in Afghanistan with us. He was in a different platoon, but he was in my company. That guy was 42 years old after he graduated, or I think he turned 42 when he was in basic training. And so he got to us. He was like the old man wearing private.
Wow.
Rank.
Hey, you just want to go back.
Yeah.
Serve his country.
Yeah. So.
You know what I mean? Serve his country. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about where'd you get intoxicated at?
So I don't think you and I have ever shared a drink together.
We have not.
We need to change that sometime.
Yes, sir. We do.
I drink Lone Star by choice. Nobody has to force me to. That's my favorite beer. And I'd played a benefit up in Fort Worth one day on a Sunday, and on my way back home to Lampasas, I stopped in a little bar outside of Stephenville, and they actually were charging cover charge to get in on a Sunday. What in the hell? Like, y'all don't even charge a cover charge on a Friday night. Why on a Sunday? And the guy that they had working the door, he said, you give me $10, I'm going to give you a solo cup, and until the Lone Star keg goes dry, you can drink Lone Star for a penny a beer. And I had $11 in my wallet.
There you go.
So I was buying rounds for everybody. I mean, we were all doing it. We're acting like we're big spenders, but we're all spending a $quarter, and 25 people.
I got 30 cents. Let's do it.
Yeah. So kind of as a songwriter, I got the idea for Intoxicated, because I'm drinking a Texas beer, and I drank quite a few that night, and some of it, I've got a twin sister, and she's not a songwriter, she's not a musician by any stretch, but she has a way with words. So she had this one night we were at her house, and she was telling me the story about she had gotten drunk at a bar somewhere and said that she was so drunk that she was talking in cursive.
Okay.
And
I guess that's what you would sound like.
yeah,
If you're too drunk talking in cursive.
The slurring, like, if you could see the words coming out of somebody's mouth. So it just kind of, everything just fell together with this song. And we've actually, it seems like it's kind of crazy because I try to write more serious songs, but with this one, it's not the most serious song. It's kind of corny, kind of maybe even cliche or whatever. But everybody that hears it, they're like, "Man, that's a hit," and I'm like, "We hope so."
Okay. Well, we all hope so too. We believe it. Here's Jason Custer playing Intoxicated.
Hey, this is Jason Custer, and I'm going to play our new single, Intoxicated. I hit the door of my favorite honky-tonk just 20 minutes after quitting time. It was penny beer night, and they had cold Lone Star beer on tap. I had $1 worth of dimes. Now the sun hadn't even called it a day. By the time I got bucked off my bar stool, and the bartender said she had to cut me off, 'cause I was acting like some drunken fool. I said, well, I'm not drunk, I'm just intoxicated. I got too much blood coursing through my Lone Star stream. Well, it looks like you're the fool. Consider yourself educated. I ain't drunk, I'm intoxicated. Well, she looked at me like I was talking in cursive as I staggered across that old hardwood floor. And I swear that bartender shot me the finger as a bouncer showed me to that old front door. And now I swear this cop must be her brother, 'cause he's saying that I'm too damn drunk to drive. So I told that boy in blue, you better listen close, 'cause I'm only gonna say this one more time. Oh, I'm not drunk, I'm just intoxicated. I got too much blood coursing through my Lone Star stream. Well, it looks like you're the fool. Consider yourself educated. I ain't drunk, I'm intoxicated. Oh, I'm not drunk, I'm intoxicated.
Here, and we're back. Jason Custer doing Intoxicated. So, before that, you talked about, before we got on air, that y'all are going to be doing, shooting a video with the song, right?
Right.
Okay. So what's going on with all that?
So May 1st, we're playing at the Greenwood Saloon, which is kind of my happy place. It's
And where's that located?
That's in Bluffdale, Texas. It's about 15 miles north of Stephenville on 377.
Okay.
Up towards Granbury from
Okay.
Stephenville. So little bitty bar. I think their max capacity is like 150 people. But it is definitely my most favorite venue to play. I don't know what it is about that place. It's just,
You just like playing it.
yeah, it's like going back in time. They've kind of done some modifications to it, so it feels a little bit more modern now than it did. But I was just there this past Sunday, and that's where we actually booked the show for May 1st. And
Okay.
then all in one day, I was like, you know what? We need to shoot a video, and made sure we got everybody on board. I've got the videographer, my singer-songwriter friend of mine, that he's just an all-around crafty dude. He does it all. Dustin Brown. He's going to be our shooting the video, getting all the footage and everything. So, and then another singer-songwriter friend is going to be the star of the video, and then it's just going to be. We were planning it yesterday.
Yeah, see, that's cool how you can get all your friends to do that. You know what I mean? If I try to do that, it's like it's going to be crickets. No one's going to show. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
when you offer free beer, it's like getting people to help you move. Hey, I'm buying pizza and beer.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Are you really buying pizza and beer?
Well, I'm at least going to buy the beer or some beer.
Tell them to bring them a pizza.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's why musicians got to carry ice chest.
I look in the bed of my truck.
Yeah, sodas, bologna, bread, everything. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Take your food on the road.
That's right. Eat cheap.
So that's pretty cool, man. So what's Jason Custer? What do you got coming down the pike? Is it just the video you're going to shoot, or do you have some serious plans?
Well, we're actually, I think, with the single when it's ready to go, we're actually going to spend the money, pay a promoter, because doing self promotion, I don't have time. And don't really have the connections in the radio world to get people get taken serious, I guess.
Yeah.
When I send somebody, so I think we're going to hire a promoter. Hopefully that one song, hopefully it becomes the anthem of the summer. Everybody floating on the Guadalupe, listening to it with their little cooler radios, and hopefully that'll open some doors for us. I mean, that's pretty much what it takes. Is
sometimes, I tell everybody this, Jason, don't wait for that door to open.
Right.
You kick that sumbitch on down.
And that's what we're trying to do. We're going to try to spend the money and do it right, and not necessarily pay for play, but you got to pay that middleman to get it to them.
In the end, you're going to be polishing somebody's hand
with
something to get something, and it's the nature of this beast, man. You know what I mean? In order for me to do this, I still have to take care of other people so I can do it.
And fortunately, there's a lot of DJs out there that would be willing to play a song that they, let's say that they have the afternoon show from noon to 3, and then on a Saturday night they're out and they hear this band playing and find out this band they like this band, they have this single that they're trying to push, and that DJ would have played it, but because that DJ is not the program director,
right?
And that program director isn't getting his palm
polishing that, and they're paid.
Yeah,
they're paid by the let's just say, lack of better words, the corporate record execs.
Yep,
they're paid from the people out of Nashville, which is not really the people out of Nashville usually is the name, because it's big corporate companies that own everything, and they're the ones. Well, if you pay this, we'll give you a subsidy for doing it. And a lot of your broadcast radio stations, they're relying on that income.
Exactly.
To pay to play. And unfortunately, it knocks out all the small guys like Jason Custer.
I wish we could go back to the 40s and 50s when, I'm sure a lot of that was happening, but at the same time, there were small nobody bands that just all of a sudden blew up because a DJ in Des Moines, Iowa played their song. Somebody from the next town heard it and went home to their town and requested at their local AM radio station.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, this band is doing world tours. It doesn't happen like that anymore.
Well, Jason, that's where the concept of this show of Society Network's Homegrown After Dark, although it's not the newest. Well, wait. It is the newest. Out there of what we're trying to do, but I'm not alone doing this, so I'm not going to take all the credit. Yeah, I was the brainchild at the beginning, but I have other people helping me do more brainy things. But it's shows like this that's going to give y'all the exposure if you use it correctly. Because when this show's over, all these videos, if you got a good editing tool on your computer, you go cut those videos out.
Absolutely.
And they're y'all's. Yeah. You know what I mean? They go in there, digitally stamp y'all's names in the back of them and everything. So if somebody else starts playing, you'd be like, hey, man, you got to pay me for that.
That's cool.
So, but I tell everybody that. No one's done it as of yet, I don't think, because I haven't seen them out there. But I tell everybody, once these videos are done, cut up what you need, promote yourself. By God, if you cannot help yourself, what am I going to be able to do for you, right?
Right.
So the biggest brand you have and the biggest brand ambassador that Jason Custer has is Jason Custer himself.
Exactly. And I'm also the worst critic that we have too. I'm like, That's why it takes us so long to record anything, because it's like, I could sing that better, or I could play that better, or hey, let's try this and let's go for this sound or whatever. And
That's cool. That's cool. You know, the last time I was in the studio, I went in there and I did 7 takes on it. I was going to do 7. You know what I mean? And so I was laying there at about 2:00 that morning. They're like, "Do you know which one you like?" No, just I'll get with you and let you know which one I want. So I left 2:00 in the morning and ended up calling the engineer, in which he was not upset with me, just wondering why I'm calling him at 2 a.m. in the morning. I'm like, track 5, use that one.
that's awesome.
You know, see you in the morning, click. You know,
Right.
I knew which one I wanted. So, what about Mr. Crow?
Oh, this one's got a backstory from hell. Another one of those "it really happened to me" moments. I was playing it was a veterans. It was something. It was a veterans benefit, or it was a fundraiser. You know what? No, it wasn't, because it was in October. Veterans Day is in November, but it was in October. And the only reason I remember this is 2019, and I was playing this benefit on a Sunday afternoon in Walnut Springs at a little bar called the Rattlesnake Ballroom. And it's got one of those stages up behind the bar, so it's really high.
Oh, okay.
It's a neat place. Love the place, and the owner is.
So don't spit while you're playing.
Right? Yeah, it's going to end up in somebody's drink.
Oh God,
No.
Dear Lord.
And the owners are just they're fantastic people. They're very giving. They're always doing something to help the community. They're the first
You
ones
have to
be all hands on deck to put together a last minute or
Benefit.
even a well planned benefit to raise money for somebody. And so as I'm playing my last song of my set, the owner's husband, or the co-owner, Paul, comes in. He goes, "Hey, you're not going to believe this, but this guy, he just got out of this car with an Army duffel bag and a guitar, and says he's a singer-songwriter." I'm like, "Cool." You know, so I grabbed myself a beer, and I grabbed another beer. He said he was hitchhiking. The guy was just kind of bumming around. So I bought 2 beers. I walk out, introduced myself, and gave him a beer. And we started, we had a drink together. And then I was like, "Well, why don't you go play a song?" He's like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "Yeah, just play my guitar." So we got him up, and he played a few songs, and yeah, he was good. His name is Patrick Hamilton, but he goes by this stage name, and it's a very long story about his stage name, so I won't get into that. But he goes by the stage name of Gideon Crow.
Okay.
Gideon
Crow.
Yeah, and so check him out. He's got a YouTube channel that he does all these interviews with other artists, like he interviewed me that night. But his story was, when he got out of the Army, and he's always been kind of a free-spirited person, which is where the crow comes from, and the last name just goes where the crow flies. And he just decided that when it was warm enough, he would set out, and he would bum rides, hitchhike, hop freight trains, like hobo. That he called himself a hobo. He goes, "I just hobo around the country." And and then when it would get cold in the wintertime, he would go to, he had a girlfriend in Denton, and he would go crash at her apartment until it warmed up. And then she's like, "I'll see you when it cools back off." And he just
take off.
And
play his music.
Yeah. So just something about the hobo lifestyle, I never would have seen myself doing that. Just kind of.
Did you ever do it?
I never did it.
Neither did I.
And I kind of regret not doing it.
The farthest trip for me as a hobo is when my wife kicked me out of the room to the couch. That was the hobo life for me, man.
I spent a night on the floor in the studio a couple of times, but so it was about a 5-minute drive. But yeah, so it just kind of inspired me. His story did to just write this song, and it took me about a year and a half, actually about 2 years, to write the song, to finally sit down and write it. Once I got started on it, though, it just came out.
Right.
And so this is one of my COVID songs, I guess, because
wrote during the COVID time.
Yeah, during COVID time. I finally wrapped this song up back in probably October, probably around November, December, and I don't do a whole lot of finger picking. So, but hanging out with my buddy Dustin Brown, who that's his style of play, kind of again inspired me to write this finger style song.
You know, I wrote a Gitmo song. I mean, a Gitmo COVID song. Everybody goes to Gitmo.
Everybody goes to Gitmo.
Everybody goes to Gitmo.
I like it.
So, but here we go. Jason Custer, Army veteran, singing his song, Mr. Crow.
Hey everybody, this is Jason Custer, and this is Mr. Crow. He blew into town one day just like a bird upon the wind. When I looked into his eyes, it felt like some old friend came to see me. So I offered him a beer. He said, "Thank you, sir. Yeah, I just got here." Said, "My name's Gideon Crow, and I'm a hobo." He said he'd rode his thumb from somewhere up north. He's headed down to the coast, try his luck, some old port, maybe hop a freight ship, so he could circle around the world. Or maybe he'd hop a freight train, head out west to see his girl. He said, "Well, I don't know. Such is the life of a hobo." "Mr. Crow, where you gonna go today?" "How will you get there when you set out on your way?" Said, "I'll just follow my feet and call home wherever I lay." It's been a year or more now since he and I shared that beer. Didn't stick around here long, he just kinda disappeared. Well, I hope he got to wherever he decided to go. And I pray for safe travels on the road for the hobo. "Mr. Crow, where you gonna go today?" "How will you get there when you set out on your way?" Said, "I'll just follow my feet, call home wherever I lay." Said, "I'll just follow my feet, call home wherever I lay."
All right, there you go. Jason Custer doing his tune, Mr. Crow. You know, it's so cool that the reason why I love doing this show, Jason, is all you musicians, y'all come in here and y'all just tell your stories. You know, this story comes from his friend. I don't not meant this way, your hobo friend, right?
Right.
You know, during the I guess the spring and summer, he's hoboing, and the rest he's
Laid up on his girlfriend's couch in Denton.
hoboing and hoeing.
Which
I don't mean that bad.
well,
I had to.
I
had
think he and that girl in Denton split up, but he's still doing the hobo thing. And once I finished the song, and luckily I had a friend of mine's wife, or unfortunately now ex-wife, but she was a driving force of that, because she was like, every time I'd just randomly get a text message or a Facebook message from her, "Did you finish that song yet?" I'm like, "What song?" She goes, "The Mr. Crow song." "No, I hadn't even started it." "Get started on it." I'm like, "I want to hear it." I'm like, "Okay, all right." So finally one day I get a message from her, and I was sitting at the house, didn't have anything else to do, had my guitar and the house to myself, and sat down at the kitchen table, and within about 30 minutes, I pounded it out and did a little cell phone recording of it, and I sent it to her because, just kind of like, haha, I finished it.
Yeah.
And then I actually still had his phone number. Thank God he hadn't changed his number.
Has he heard the song before?
He didn't even know I was writing a song.
Oh, okay.
So I gave him a call. I asked him to text me his email address that he had inspired me to write this song. And he's like, okay, cool. And once he heard it, he's like, man, I'm honored. Thank you. So I got the thumbs up. We're good to go.
Yeah. Friends and musicians are the most unique creatures on earth because we are friends with thousands of people.
I'm the world's worst with names. So
Yeah.
like if I meet somebody at a show, tonight, and I don't see them again for another 3 months when I play the venue again.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm sorry, I remember your face, but I cannot think of your name. And I
It's
always
too
feel bad because they're like, hey, Jason, what's going on? And I was like, well, they know the band that's playing there, so they know my name. And I'm like,
I know it's different because you meet so many different faces. They only meet that one.
right.
And it just stays. So, Jason, how could anybody find you right now? How can they get a hold of Jason? They love this music. They want to book you for the next wedding or whatever they need. So how can they get a hold of you?
Well, easiest way is look me up on Facebook, either my personal page, which I'm still well under the 5,000 friends on Facebook. So, because I keep it trimming
Trimming the fat. I do it nonstop.
A lot. And then, but you can find the band page on Facebook, which is just, / Jason Custer Band. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. It's all just Jason Custer Band. And of course, our email address is, you can always send us an email or just shoot us a personal message.
Right. Okay. What's that email?
The Jason Custer Band at gmail.com.
That is the Jason Custer Band at gmail.
One and only.
Well,
Because all the good names are already taken.
So, before we get out of here today, if you have one thing in this world that you could change, what would it be?
We wouldn't have had COVID.
No COVID. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And that's that, and my mom, would still be here. She never got to see me play with my own band. She died, and a month after she died, I put together my first band. I was still in the Army at Fort Hood, so I would have at least had her at some shows for me.
Yeah, no doubt. We all love our mothers. If it wasn't for the COVID thing, you wouldn't have wrote your tunes.
Yeah, there's a couple of tunes that I would have
And
had.
a dedication to you saying, I wish COVID didn't happen.
Yeah.
I dedicate my song to that that I'm going to write. It's almost done. They're all going to Gitmo. That's Jason
All
Custer.
going to Gitmo.
Hey, hashtag save our children, man. We will see y'all next time. Jason Custer, you rock and roll, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Society Network.
Hey, everybody. I'm Jason Custer, and this is Sweetest Thing off of my album, Drink This Beer. Since the moment we met, I've been trying to figure out what it is about you that I can't live without. And maybe it's your hands every time that we touch. Maybe it's your blue eyes, girl, I can't get enough. Baby, when you smile at me, my heart begins to melt. You just do something to me that I've never felt. The way you say you love me without saying a word, that's the sweetest thing I've ever heard. Taste of your kiss, intoxicating like wine. I drunk on your love. When your lips touch mine, you don't need expensive perfume, 'cause the scent of your skin is like flowers in bloom. Baby, when you smile at me, my heart begins to melt. Just do something to me that I've never felt. The way you say you love me without saying a word, that's the sweetest thing I've ever heard. Baby, when you smile at me, my heart begins to melt. Just do something to me that I've never felt. The way you say you love me without saying a word, that's the sweetest thing I've ever heard. That's the sweetest thing I've ever heard.